Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've got some really thought-provoking stuff you sent in this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excerpts from Casey Morgan talking about his family's move, and also Greg Livingstone on missions more broadly.
Right, focusing on engagement.
And what jumped out at me, really, is this thread running through both. This idea that maybe the key thing isn't some big calling or special talent, but maybe just willingness. Could it be that simple?
That's definitely the core question, and it's explored with, I think, a lot of honesty in these pieces. Casey Morgan's story about that seminar, the World Christian one back in 2000,
Yeah.
that really sets the stage. He describes, a pretty comfortable life, Texas, young kids, another on the way.
The classic picture almost.
Exactly, and then this moment of realizing, wait, our nice life doesn't really reflect God's desire for all people groups to know him. It hits them hard.
It wasn't like a voice from the clouds or anything dramatic, though, was it?
Yeah.
It sounds like it was triggered by a specific question they were asked.
That's right. The question was basically, what part of your life reflects God's desire to be known among every people group on the planet?
Wow. That's direct. That would make anyone pause, I think.
For sure. And for them, the answer led to, well, a massive change, moving to East Asia.
But what's really striking, and you picked up on this, is Morgan insists it wasn't some special calling just for them.
Yeah, he's very clear on that. He says, we never had a special calling to go. We're not any more spiritual than you. We're just willing. That's all.
That really challenges the common narrative, doesn't it?
It totally does. It makes you rethink who goes and why.
Because, yeah, you often imagine missionaries having this, exceptional level of faith or hearing a really clear command.
Right, like they're spiritual superheroes or something.
Yeah. And Morgan addresses that, how other people saw their move as this huge sacrifice, assuming they must have had this crystal clear calling.
But internally, they felt, normal, just like everyone else. The only difference, in their view, willingness. They were just willing to act on what they understood God wanted.
So that willingness then becomes this kind of challenge. Morgan seems to be asking the listener, essentially, are you just comfortable? Have you actually thought about why you aren't engaging with the biggest needs?
He even hints at, potential regret down the line if you don't take that kind of risk, that challenge. It's quite pointed.
So if willingness is the main thing, what stops people? What are the roadblocks, do you think?
Well, fear, maybe. Fear of the unknown. Or just feeling like, I'm not cut out for that, not having the right skills or personality.
Yeah, that makes sense. The inadequacy feeling.
But Morgan kind of heads that off at the pass, doesn't he, with that direct invitation. He says something like, if it's a missionary call you're waiting for, then here it is. Come, follow us.
That's bold.
It is. And he backs it up with the reality, billions of people, thousands of groups, with no access to the story of Jesus. It makes the need feel very urgent and practical.
Okay, so let's bring in Greg Livingstone. He adds this interesting historical layer.
Yeah, he talks about the shift around, 1963, with air travel becoming common.
Right. Before that, being a missionary was basically signing up for life, wasn't it? Almost no coming back.
Pretty much. A massive lifelong commitment. Air travel suddenly made shorter-term things possible, though Livingston seems a bit skeptical about really short trips, like just a week.
Okay, fair enough. But the principle holds it became more accessible time-wise. How does that connect back to willingness? Does easier access make it easier to be willing?
That's a good question. Maybe. Perhaps a shorter commitment feels less overwhelming, less like you're signing your whole life away, more manageable to say yes to?
Could be. But Livingston also talks about developing a real burden, right? A genuine concern for people you don't know.
Exactly. He points out it's natural to care about people we know, people we share meals with, laugh with. It's much harder to feel that connection, that deep care for people you've never even met.
So how do you bridge that gap? How do you start caring about, say, people in a specific region you've never been to?
Well, Livingstone's answer is pretty straightforward. You got to go there. You need that personal connection. He says you develop that burden by, sharing life, hearing stories.
Actually experiencing their world.
Right. He specifically mentions spending time among unreached groups, Pathans, Baluch, whoever. He suggests even just a month immersed in a community without a church could totally change your perspective. See them as real people, not just statistics.
It's about moving from the abstract to the personal.
Okay.
So why don't more people do that? Take that immersion step.
Maybe just that first step is the hardest, getting out of the comfort zone, dealing with the unfamiliar. which ties into another thing Livingstone pushes back against.
Which is?
This whole question people ask, am I the missionary type?
Ah, yes. The self-disqualification trap.
Exactly. He warns against ruling yourself out because you think you don't have the right gifts or you're not strong enough or you don't fit some, like, stereotype.
You have to be Mother Teresa
Or an evangelical Indiana Jones, as he puts it. It's this false dichotomy.
That's such a common way to think, though. We compare ourselves to giants and just assume, nope, not me.
But Livingstone flips the question. Instead of what do I lack, he says, ask, what might I contribute to a church planting team?
Oh, that's a much better question. Shifts the focus completely.
Yeah, it's suddenly about teamwork, collaboration. Everyone has something they can bring, different skills, different perspectives. It's not about being a solo hero.
It becomes about fitting into a larger picture.
Precisely. And he connects this to a core theological idea referencing the Apostle Paul. You know, my grace is sufficient. My power is perfected in weak people. God uses ordinary, even weak people.
If they're willing.
If they're available, yeah. Livingstone really hammers this home.
He has that really stark line, doesn't he? About the two kinds of people.
Mm-hmm. There are only two kinds of people in the world. The weak ones who make themselves available to God and the weak ones who don't.
Wow.
Yeah.
It circles right back to Morgan's point, doesn't it? Willingness. Availability. Not inherent strength or amazing talent.
It really does. It cuts through a lot of the excuses we might make, perhaps.
Yeah, it feels like we often complicate it way more than necessary.
And Livingstone also contrasts seeking, like, personal security versus pursuing significance.
Right. Encouraging people to aim higher than just small, comfortable goals.
Yeah, to get involved in God-sized things through working together, through prayer for these unreached groups, and being willing to let go of maybe smaller ambitions for something bigger.
Something with lasting impact. And he finishes with a call to action, basically.
Pretty much. Seek out wisdom, find people with vision, and ask, how can I be part of this? How can I help write a new chapter for people who haven't heard? It's very proactive.
So pulling it all together. Casey Morgan, Greg Livingston, different angles, different experiences.
But the core message is remarkably consistent, isn't it?
Yeah. It really seems to be about simple willingness, availability. That seems to be the crucial factor, more than anything else. More than talent, more than waiting for some dramatic sign.
It really puts the ball back in our court, so to speak.
It absolutely does. It makes you ask yourself personally, am I willing? Am I open? Open to seeing the needs beyond my own little world. Willing to maybe step out, even if it feels uncomfortable.
Willing to contribute whatever it is I have rather than worrying about what I don't have.
Yeah. It reframes the whole idea of missions away from being just for a select few called ones.
And makes it potentially for, well, anyone who's willing.
Which leaves us with a challenging thought, I suppose.
Yeah.
What if the biggest thing holding back engagement with global needs isn't really a lack of money or people or even ability? What if it's just a lack of willingness? A reluctance to step outside what's familiar and comfortable and really consider those who are furthest away?
That's a powerful question.
What could actually happen? What could be unlocked? If more of us just stopped and honestly asked ourselves that one simple question, am I willing?